Hello and welcome to the Be Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast. I'm welcoming from not too far away from me, from Auckland, New Zealand. I'm welcoming to the show Sam Kamani. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you for inviting me. It is an absolute pleasure and an honor to be on your podcast and talk about all things entrepreneurship and leadership and all those sort of things. So thank you.
No, thank you. And I'm really chuffed because you are a seasonal podcaster. You've been podcasting for what? I think you said 4 or 5 years now, but you've got a huge background. But I'm like, oh, you can check out if what I'm like as a podcaster myself, given I only started in this arena in February of this year. But Sam, you're an investor, ex-founder. You've done two exits, which is fascinating. You're a best-selling author. And you, like I said, you're a podcaster, Web3 with Sam Kamani. It's in a niche space, which is, you said, blockchain, crypto, and AI. So I'm feeling like this could be quite an education session for me too. And like I said, you're the host of Web3. You're also like a best-selling author. The book is called The 30-Day Startup. Keen to
Yes.
understand a bit about that as well. And previously, you've served as the chief Web3 strategist at Moonstream, I think. Is that right? That did
Yes,
I?
that's right. That was in 2020, but and after that I've had few of my portfolio companies where I've invested and then I do advise them on growth and strategy and all that. A bit like what you do.
Yeah, yeah, incredible. So I
Yeah.
don't know where you want to start because you also said when you booked in for the podcast, just a very succinct sentence, you said when I asked you what's one unique insight when it comes to life, leadership, and or business, and you said ability to build startups and exit them. I'm
Yes.
going to let you choose your own Sam adventure of where you want to start with your journey.
Sure. Yeah,
Go for it.
definitely. Okay, so I mean, I grew up in India, and then I came to New Zealand to do my university. This is like 25 years ago, and then been living in New Zealand. However, I do spend a lot of time traveling around every year for various different reasons because my industry is really, really spread out around the world. So it just so happens I haven't worked in New Zealand for 4 years. Even though I run the podcast, I often do interviews in person around the world. So every year I go to and spend time in like 15 different countries. So I've
Wow.
been very, very fortunate to live a very interesting life. But when I was in New Zealand, even though I studied computer science, I quickly realized that you can build a software, but if no one knows about it, or you can build whatever e-commerce or startup or whatever startup you want to build, you still need people to use it. Just because you build it does not equate to that means that they will
No,
come.
absolutely.
So that's what I realized very quickly, and pretty much most of my life what I have done is worked on growth side of things. And first startup was in e-commerce. We used to sell in New Zealand, Australia, US, a little bit in Asia, and used to be I do travel to Australia all the time because of that. Grew that, sold that in 2015, which is now owned by a publicly listed company. It was in the herbal supplement space, but it was an e-commerce startup. Back then, e-commerce in 2007 was very different, just like how blockchain and crypto and AI and where it is today. That's where e-commerce was. Now e-commerce is very readily accepted. 2007, people were even afraid to use their credit card
Mm,
online. It was like, oh no,
mm.
funds will be stolen. It was very scary for most people. Less than 1% of all e-commerce was online, but now it's very different in 2025.
Yeah.
Or 26 nearly. Um, and then I built a startup in esports, very different industry, but I've been a gamer most of my life. Then spent time in San Francisco with that startup, building that. That got acquired in 2018. Wrote a book on tech startup um, called 30-Day Startup, where the idea of 30-Day Startup is that you have to get your idea live out and running within 30 days. That's the maximum time you should give yourself to get your idea out. That does not mean that it's successful and it's exited in 30 days. However, 30 days is your time limit to get it started and get it out there. Otherwise, it never gets done. The reason why you have a podcast is because you took action on it. and and if you don't take action, it doesn't happen. So that's what the whole book is about, and how to do it, how to grow it, how to take it from there. So that's what it was about. After my exits, I did also angel invest in few startups. I advise them on an ongoing basis. But yeah, but that's about it. Very focused on my podcast and giving founders a platform on my podcast who work in my industry in that niche, on what they're building, what problems they're solving, how they're growing their startup. And also, it's like just like your podcast, it's a two-way thing. I get to learn as well from it, and they get to learn um, something hopefully from it as well. So yeah, that's in short.
Wow, fascinating. I don't even know where to start with what questions to start with what. I think I'll start with your startups and the two exits. Like, well, no, sorry, I shouldn't say two exits. Well, two exits, but the ability to build startups and then exit them. It is a fine art when it comes to building successful startups, selling
Yes.
them, and then exiting them. Have you ever, in any of your exits, were you in the situation where you had an earn out that, from the minute it was acquired, the business was acquired, like the earn out took, kicked on in and you were like, oh, what have I done? What have I, like, like it's changed so much, or like, just get me out of this, or I want to stay on. Like, and the reason I ask this is because the previous business I was in, we sold the
Yes.
company. It was a long earn out, and I didn't love that side of, you go from really entrepreneurial into very red tape
Yes.
organization. So like what were your feelings around
So
it? Yeah.
yeah, it's like I didn't enjoy the whole exit process, because one day it was happening, every day there were different people who wanted to come and look at the business, and I was also like, okay, if they'll get to learn and they'll get to work in here and learn everything about the business and stuff. So I was a bit um I don't know, scared about that whole process. This is for the first exit, and after every exit, by the time of it, I was already burnt out, because um, as a founder, you not only have to keep the business running, do the whole HR stuff, keep the employees happy, help them feel secure that no, that's fine. This transition will go all right. They will be new. They'll have a new boss. They will be all right, and still keep growing the company, still keep working on, deal with all the cash flow things, deal with everything, marketing and growth and all those sort of things. As well as if you have stock and all, like 10 different, and then on top of that you have a whole new responsibility where
Mm,
you have to go and present the business and find buyers. I mean, you, of course, you work with like a big 4 or 5 accounting firm to, I mean, help you secure a buyer and do all the information memorandum and all the paperwork and all that. However, it is lots of ups and downs. One day is getting acquired by someone really big for a big amount, the next day it's not happening, we might not have a business at all, or so it was a lot of ups and downs, and it was very, very strenuous. So that after every exit I did take a year and a half or so off, or took a break after that,
wow.
so to recover from it.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
yes.
What would you do in your recovery period? Like a full year and a half? Were you completely
So I
switched
was,
off business at those
yeah, I
points?
was immediately into like learning mode, and I was learning and improving my skills and seeing where the gaps are in the market and what I should do next. In hindsight, now I do things differently after my next next time. I realized, because I'm a natural extrovert, I like to work with people. I like to work. I find meaning from work and spending time with people. So I would not do that. Um, I would immediately get involved with other founders who are building interesting things and then find my way. Because as you have noticed, from your consulting to podcasting to one thing leads to another, and that can only happen if you are doing things and out there in the
Mm,
in the field.
mm.
So I would just do that. I would pretty much get involved in the next thing straight away. And yeah.
Absolutely. But you would also make sure you weren't burning out or do you think that's unavoidable when you're, like if you talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of founders, when they're
I'll take a
scaling.
1 week
Yeah.
break, not a longer than that. Maximum. Yes, I rarely take breaks. So yeah,
Yeah.
because I enjoy my work. So yeah, I get
Yeah.
energized by my work
Yeah,
instead
it's
of the
funny.
other way.
It's funny you say that because I get energized by these podcasts as well, like talking
Yes,
to all these different people from around the world. You get such amazing, fresh perspectives, global perspectives, like
yes,
energy attracts energy. You instantly know if you're
absolutely.
going to have a great podcast or a great
Yes,
interview, or and I don't even like to call it interview really because it's having a conversation more than anything.
exactly
Interviews
right.
interviews sounds so serious. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Tell me, I want to take a little pivot to Web3 and how have you always been in blockchain, crypto, and AI? Like, has that always been an
I have
area?
always been at the cutting edge of tech. It's like I was doing Google AdWords in 2003 when, most people weren't doing, didn't know about them. If you look at my LinkedIn or Twitter account, they are from like 2007 or something. It's like I've been at any new thing, I do test it out. My OpenAI or ChatGPT account is like at the day two of they had when they had released my. I was playing around with trying to mine Bitcoin in 2012, 13 years ago. Even though I was not successful at that, and I was a skeptic at that stage, but with an open mind, I give every new tech a try. So I look at like now quantum computing and where it's going, and I look at the applications of AI and robotics, and I look at every new tech to see and just be fresh on like just see what the vibe is of the market of the new. I mean, just like a naturally curious person,
Yeah.
you can say, yeah.
Have you always had that beginner's mindset? Like, that curiosity, being open-minded, because for me, it takes a lot of courage to explore the
Yes.
unknown, and that's ultimately what you're doing. You're exploring the
Yes.
unknown. You're looking at what's next, even though might be a bit of a skeptic. You're
Yes.
still constantly putting yourself out there. That
Yeah.
that takes a lot of, that's comes from within to have that ability to do that. Is that something you've always had ever since you were a little boy, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I always had that, and I always want to explore and just see and give it a try and give it a shot and see what it is, and just have an open mind, because it is very easy to see if ask people to imagine future. Everyone does imagine it like linearly. People, it's
Mm,
very hard to see what our lifestyle would be, where we would be in our life in 25 years time. But if you ask me of 25 years ago, she could not have described you on your lifestyle of today back then, probably. So
no.
it is very, very hard for us to see, if we whether it's AI or blockchain or any new tech. If we ask people, they would only describe in a linear sort of a progression of how they see all those tech will be used. However, I don't think that's going to be the case at all.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I'm thinking, like, I'm not getting too reflective of the year just yet. I probably will in the next week or so, but I'm a little bit like, and I don't know if this happens to you, but I'm now more just like back to this non-linear world we're living in. I have
Yeah.
way less expectation on like what next year's going to look like. You like you say,
Yeah.
you've got to take action. I could not agree more.
Yes.
But this planning ahead for the next 12 months, etc., like and or planning the next however many years of my life, I just don't buy it anymore because if you had to
Yes.
ask me that would I be doing podcasting and all this stuff that I'm doing now at the start of this year, I would have been, or this time last year, I would have been, no, gosh, no. Like
Yeah.
I'm doing this. And then all of a sudden I take one action and it's
Yeah.
blown up into something that I'm like in the best possible way. And I'm like, okay, well, that was not what I'd planned.
Yeah. Yeah. 100% agree.
And do you see
Yeah.
that in a lot of businesses that you talk to, like, in particular when it comes to the sorts of founders that you're talking to on your show, they're working in a very, like you say, niche sector, if you like, with blockchain, crypto, AI. Like
Yes.
you said before that you don't believe what some people are predicting around, because some of the people I'm interviewing, they're saying that, money as it stands won't exist anymore in however many years. It'll all be, in crypto. Then I have various different conversations around AI and things like that. And I'm like, yeah,
It already doesn't exist anymore. Most of the money, it's like, when for people who are working in Melbourne, ask how many people got their salary paid to them in cash, in hard cash. Everyone gets in a bank account, which is just numbers in a on a database. Most of the money does not exist in physical form anymore. It's all digital, or
yeah,
most of it, like 90-95% of it's all just digital. It's just numbers moving from one database to another database. That's what it is, and that's what blockchain is. It's just a different type of a database. We are already there. It's like, it's just we don't think about it.
yeah,
Just because we use a credit card that's physical, but the numbers are all just digital.
yeah.
Like no one is getting paid their monthly salary in a briefcase in a cash. it,
No.
it just does not happen like that anywhere in the world, especially when you buy a house, buy anything, buy a car, buy anything. Most things, it's not happening in cash anymore.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And I wonder, like could be me being simple here, but like is it the language, like blockchain? Because the minute you say blockchain to a lot of people, I'm like, oh, that sounds really like academic, really
Blockchain is
smart.
just a database. It's just a different type of a database. um,
Yeah.
it's a database that can work on its own rather than a centralized database. So it's a decentralized database that can work globally on its own rather than a centralized database, which is hosted in the server of a bank. Or, I mean, it's not a bank, like hosted in a server of Microsoft or like a cloud
Yeah.
server. It's no one has their own servers anymore, or most people don't have
Mhm.
the servers on there anymore. It's all at AWS or Azure, or so it's just, and that's the database. This is the database. In this, you pay directly to the people who maintain it. In a centralized database, you pay to Amazon for AWS, or Google for Google Cloud Partners, or so it's just the same thing, just slightly different.
Yeah. And to tell me, you said you travel to 15 different countries generally a year. It's quite a lot of
Yeah, about,
countries. Are
yeah.
you seeing the same sort of themes coming up across all these different countries when it comes to, AI, crypto, blockchain, business in general? Like, obviously there's different, yeah,
um it's very different in some cases. like um okay, so to give you an example, I'm just looking at the time and seeing how much time we've got. It is such a big topic, because there's so many places that I go every year, and as well as I deal with people across the globe. So I grew up in India, and in India, when I was growing up, um, only 6% of people had a phone line, like a landline.
mm,
Whereas in Western countries, everyone had um, everyone had like a, or most houses had a landline, most
mm,
businesses had a landline. But landline, the infrastructure is very expensive to build. As in, like, in put those lines in the ground or on the streets, like, and deliver it to every home, 1.5 1.4 billion people. It's very, very challenging to do that. However, when mobile came, mobile adoption just exploded, and India completely skipped the whole landline era. And that often happens, that countries skip a whole generation of technology, and they move straight to the next, and that's why the next one adoption is much faster. And the same thing, I can see it happening right now in Latin America and Africa, where they
yeah,
completely skipped the whole credit card and the banking
yeah,
era, and they all pay each other using their mobile phones, using text messages and things like that. So they had been the pioneers even 10, 15 years ago of paying people through text messages or just through the phone. So they, because they never got the banks, they skipped the whole generation. So um Africa, Latin America, some of those countries are leading in this type of tech, whereas the West is, some of the Western countries are, because they had the credit cards, and so they are still technologically backwards, and the transactions take sometimes a day, 2 or 3 days, or bank or working days to settle, whereas there it's instant. So so
Yes,
it's
fast.
very interesting.
It is because I actually spoke to my first person I had on the show the other day from
Yes,
Africa. He was in Kenya. Was it Kenya? I
yes,
can't remember. We were
yeah,
having exactly this conversation, and I was like,
yes,
he's like, we skipped. If you think about even the Industrial Revolution, he said
yes,
we skipped a period. And so,
yes,
because I was talking to him about, innovation and a tech hub in Kenya and what they were
yes,
doing in Africa. And it was fascinating because I was like, oh yeah, by skipping like he said as much as it was the rest of the world experienced it, they skipped it. And so now they
yes,
are an emerging a country. And I
yes.
thought it was super fascinating because you think if you've skipped something or like you've missed out, but actually you've actually just
Fast
catapulted your
forward,
way
move
into the future
forward.
faster. Yeah,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Definitely. So that is definitely happening. Whereas for AI, it's slightly different on the consumer side, whereas it's very different on the business side. Consumer side, there is adoption throughout the globe equally. Like, people use AI. I'm sure you use AI to make right things and stuff. It just makes things so much faster.
Yeah,
So that is everywhere. That is globally. However, like when it comes to data centers, or when it comes to the putting it in application on robotics and stuff, that is not equally spread around the world. That is quite distributed, and that's quite a big topic.
yeah, it is.
Completely different topic.
Yeah,
Yes,
another time. Another time.
yes,
Tell me, Sam, couple of last questions for you. What are you seeing from founders? Like what do you like when if we come back to startup, and what's required when it comes to building, scaling a business, the various founders, people that you're talking to, interviewing, what are you seeing is required in today's world and into the future that a founder needs to be able to succeed?
is the same as what it was before, and that is the ability to take action. Number one. Number two is courage, and you need courage to do that, because the fastest way to be unhappy is to learn everything you can and never implement any of it.
Yeah,
So it's like you can learn from all the books, but they never implement, and so you always feel like you know so much, but you are not getting anywhere.
yeah.
So good founders have the courage. They might not know everything, but they have the courage to go and do it and experiment and learn, and so that's why their progress is always much faster.
Yeah, I agree with you on I agree with action, courage, and experimentation. I think we need more experimentation in the world, like in
Yes.
terms of just in business, if you like, because
Yeah.
we're quite risk averse at times, and it's like if we don't try, we'll never know, right? Like it's just having that ability to really be able to do that. And then last question for you.
Yes.
Predictions. Do you have any predictions for like I know that we've just been talking about the complete opposite, but like is there anything
Yes.
that you're seeing? There's so much buzz at the moment. There's a lot of buzz, there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of different like it's agentic AI, it's augmented
Yes.
AI. There's all these different things. Like
Yeah.
what do you think is honestly going to be the is it the focus? What are you seeing for heading into 2026 is going to be like at the forefront?
Yes. So, one thing I can pretty much guarantee, and that is that if you look at the last, say, few thousand years of human history, regardless of where we are, the technical and industrial innovation has only gotten faster and faster over time. It has not slowed down. No single decade was like that, oh, this decade we didn't do much innovation, we closed all our we sent all our researchers home, we sent all the businesses stopped innovating, whether it's in product and pricing, in marketing, in finance,
Yeah.
and we sent everyone home. It's like no point. It's just like, in like 1878 or something, in Britain they had the um they had a sort of an office for innovation and new discoveries and things like that, and they closed it down, that everything that needs to be discovered has been already discovered, everything new has to be made has already been made. So everyone can just go home now. So it does not work like that, it only accelerates. So I do expect to see that continuing in 2026, that's what we will see over this
Mm.
next year. I mean, there's no reason for it to not happen that way,
Yeah,
because
fast.
everything gets built on top of the other thing. So it's just like, if we have electricity, yes, we can do a lot more. Now we have communication, now we have mobile phones, so we can do a lot more at every single step, because everything builds on top of the previous thing. So I do expect innovation to keep accelerating.
Yeah, it's exciting. I think there's
Yes,
lots of opportunity for us as humans as well as part of this whole acceleration of
absolutely.
technology. And I don't think we need to be fearful as fearful of all the buzzers out there, and
Yes,
instead like look at what it can enable us to do. And I think this is where businesses and leaders are going to
yes.
really, if you take action and courage, it can be, you can make it your own. Sam, how do we find out more about you? How do we find out more about your podcast?
Sure. So you can just search Web3 with Sam Kamani on any platform, anywhere, and you should be able to find it. Or just search for my name, Sam Kamani, on LinkedIn, or just samkamani.com. You'll find me easily. Feel free to reach out. Always happy to have a conversation with you if you're building things in crypto or AI. And yeah, just have a conversation on my podcast. So thanks, B, so much for inviting. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
No, thank you, Sam. And I love everything about you and your energy and just your vibe and what you're doing. And I'll get you back on next year and
Sure.
see where you're at and what you can, what's coming up for you. And we can talk more about the as further acceleration of tech that you're seeing with founders as well. So thank you,
Definitely.
Sam, and I wish you a happy holiday and into the
Yeah.
year.
Thanks a lot. And I will send you an invite to the to the communications and storytelling workshop, and we do it next year. So, but in the meantime, have a great holiday.
Thank you, Sam. You too. Take care.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.